Hi, I'm James McGuire, and on today's eSpeaks, we're talking about the challenges of data analytics. Why aren't companies doing more with their analytics platforms, and what can they do to overcome some of the issues they face? To discuss that, I'm joined by Amir Orad, Chief Executive Officer of Sisense. Amir, very good to have you with us today.
Likewise, thanks for having me.
You know, the world of data analytics is exceptionally complicated here in 2022. There's a lot going on, and it seems like companies are focusing more on data analytics than ever before. And yet, there are still companies that are kind of lagging behind. They're not fully using their data analytics. What do you see as the reluctance there?
First, I think it's not that the world of data analytics is getting more complex. The world we live in is getting more complex.
Yes, yes.
In many unfortunate ways and some fortunate ones.
Well, indeed, right.
And as a result, people need, they don't have a choice, they need to better understand what's going on. We need to do that to give better services. We need to do that to stay in business. We need to do that to be more competitive. We need to do that to handle the current economy. So first, it's important to acknowledge the needs, the pressure, the reality that people handle is more complex than it used to be before. And to your point, the technology arena, if you like, is getting more advanced and more capable. And yet, I meet Fortune 500 and startups alike. Most of the companies out there still have ways to go, miles to go, to take full advantage or even enough advantage of the technologies around them to handle this messy world we live in.
And what do you think the hangup is? Because you would think they would say, oh, goodness, you know, mining our data for insight is very important. We've got all this data. A lot of it's really valuable. Let's constantly dig into it and see see how it can help us make decisions. Like, why are they not doing that? Maybe with the enthusiasm they could do that with.
There's a bunch of reasons. I'll focus on three. First, the data itself is changing and growing faster than people catch up. Second, we had a generational improvement. 20 years ago, up until maybe 2010, the companies used technologies like the MicroStrategies of the world, big, bulky, central, capable, powerful, but it took an IT army to maintain them, right? And I'm not picking on one vendor. That was kind of the entire market, almost like a mainframe type state of the market. And then about a decade ago, Tableau, Power BI, and others really helped move outside the big IT room into the hands of BI analysts, BI teams in many departments. That was a major step up. But still today, if you look at every measurement, every statistic, 80% of all workers do not leverage data analytics, and it's a huge missed opportunity. If you go to a hospital, the average doctor, nurse, shift manager, technician are not leveraging it. It will be the 5 people in finance and the 1 person in marketing, and that's a huge missed opportunity. If you go to, you see it all over the place. So the second reason is that in most organizations, 80% of people do not, because it still requires too many skills and separate systems to go and reach into, which the average doctor or nurse in a hospital just don't have the time, the knowledge, or the bandwidth.
Sure.
So that's the second. And the third one is actually totally different, and that's about culture and DNA. Many companies today still don't have the imagination required or the ability to dream big and understand how materially different they can be and more successful leveraging modern data analytics, AI technologies.
You know, the one piece that you talked about where some of the folks on the ground, the doctors and nurses or whatever, salespeople, they're not leveraging, they don't have the expertise. Is that a question of the analytics sector is still moving towards the user? In other words, there's a lot of focus these days on making the analytics programs easier to use, simple, intuitive. Maybe we haven't come all the way to the user in terms of the user interface.
First of all, you're correct. There is ongoing improvement from bad to mediocre to okay. There is ongoing improvement. There's now tools called augmented analytics where you make them even friendlier to the people that consume it. But I think it's actually about the paradigm shift. And I see it in the field. Sisense today is a $150 million business, all focused on this new way of thinking about things that you may agree with or not. But what we think is the future is not to try and make those BI systems better, but to make them part of other tools people use anyway. A doctor and a nurse have to be really, really good at taking care of our families when they go to the hospital, not to learn a new BI tool, with all due respect. I don't want my doctor to be an expert in a BI tool.
Of course, right.
They need to go how to use the CT scanner to, do the right assessment, how to use the healthcare information, etc. So we believe, and what we see in the field is if you take insights, AI, analytics, BI, call it what you like, and inject it into the tools people use every day anyway, so we don't have to go to a new place, you get much higher adoption. And let me give you examples as, James, you as a consumer. For example, when I drove last night, we had an office Christmas party. When I drove in, my Google Maps, or Waze it was, told me leave 20 minutes earlier with traffic building up. I would have never gone to a separate traffic.com randomly on time and find out traffic is about to pilot.
Right.
Second example, James. When was the last time you went to a website and asked for movie recommendations? Probably not. But when was the last time you used Netflix or watched a movie on Amazon and got a movie recommendation? Probably last week.
Right.
So when you use the tools you already use and get insights inside them, like Google Maps or Netflix, or what have you, even my Gmail told me there's an email I sent a few days ago, I have to reply because no one is responding to me. I didn't go and ask a question. It was in Gmail. That's the future. Insights should be magically appearing in the tools people use every day. You lower the bar of skill sets required. You lower the friction of going to a separate place. And that way, the 80% can leverage it. The doctors, the nurses, the teachers, the truck drivers, factory workers, quality assurance people, and so on. And we are doing that. We're doing that today with 2,000 companies that chose to take analytics into the products they already use or they give other people to use. And we see the difference night and day. Less skill set required, higher accessibility, higher adoption, higher impact, everyone wins. I think that's the future.
Right, I definitely see the wisdom of that. Then are you suggesting a situation where many software companies are taking an API feed in from a data analytics company? Or are you saying that the companies, say that medical device scanner is going to build analytics into their software on top of their hardware? How are these insights arriving on these devices they didn't used to arrive on?
First of all, it's happening right now.
Right.
Philips Healthcare and GE Medical Devices leverage Sisense today to provide insights into that platform and make better care, better service, get more value from those big machines that are worth a lot of money today. So that movement is starting.
Is that delivered through API, or is it the Sisense coders are coding that in?
No. We provide a platform to those organizations that are way better and smarter than us in how to leverage medical devices and technology. We provide the technology, the platform, via APIs to inject into those big products and machines. But it's not only software companies. Actually, most of our companies are in healthcare and financial services and industrial. I'll give you an example, an exciting example. Air Canada built an application. When you do the safety briefing, apparently, I never flew a plane. I hope I'll never will fly a plane. But apparently the pilots, before they get on the plane and fly us from place to place, get into a room and do this safety briefing. What's going to happen on the route we're going through, and any special things to know about weather-wise, the passenger-wise, what have you, security-wise. Now into that briefing center, Air Canada is injecting insights using our technology to give the pilots more knowledge about what's going to happen. They don't send the pilots to a new system to go and learn some new way of, injecting insights. So now every pilot, before they fly the plane, leverage more analytics, insights, and AI than ever before, without learning a new system and a new skill set. They're not a software company, but the truth is, I'm old enough. I've done 3 software companies, all using analytics. I recall in the year 2000, and James, you're probably there with me. We
Yeah.
had internet companies and non-internet companies. Do you remember then when we said?
I did. I remember those
Do
days.
you know of any company who's not an internet company and not bankrupt by now?
Well, it's true. Every company is an internet company. Every company is really a technology company these days.
And that's my point. So you asked about software companies. Any company, including NASDAQ, using Sisense, or a large financial institution or a healthcare company, they all use technology and data to be better and be competitive.
Mhm.
And now they can inject insights, embed them, as we say it, or infuse them into their applications for internal employees or external users, and cross that chasm for that 80% unserved market, and really raise the bar for everyone. Everyone benefit from that.
Mhm. I want to go back a little bit and talk about how companies are using data and maybe some of the challenges they face. I know you've mentioned that the data science teams aren't focusing on the optimal project. What did you mean by that? What is the best focus for them?
Data science teams are amazing. It's one of those, we go to the mine and find the diamonds to bring out of the mine.
Yes.
But like miners, I guess, all the statistics show 80% of the time data teams spend is done on digging dirt in the gold mine until we find the gold. It's
Right.
all about data preparations and data transformations and data massaging from place to place, and not the actual algorithms and the intelligence that they have unique
Mhm.
skills in. So what people are trying to do in general is give them, it's another 80-20. They waste 80% of the time to get to the 20% of the important stuff.
Sure.
So how do you give them tools, technology, automation to make the 80% of the wasted time go away and focus on the 20%?
Mhm.
And the way to do that is bring the data to them, so we don't have to hunt for the data,
Mhm.
and bring it in a mature way they can analyze it, versus it's all kind of raw and they have to work a lot to make it usable. And once they find something, how can they take the insight to the users quickly and not have to waste more time getting an insight to the hands of someone? The ideal data science team or data engineering team would focus on what they do amazingly well and uniquely, and not the before and after of wasted time. Give them the data. Once they have an insight, send it on their behalf to the people. We try to do that in our platform with other tools in the industry to try and do that. But every minute they can use to find the next diamond in the gold mine and not dig for dirt, people benefit from that.
Well, let's drill down into Sisense, as long as we're drilling down. I mean, how is Sisense addressing the analytics needs of its clients? What's the Sisense advantage?
Sure. So as you know, and you said, there's many analytics companies in the market and many BI companies, but all of them are trying to do the same thing in different ways, which is build BI tools for BI people and business teams to consume. And you go to the tool.com, whatever the tool is, and you use it.
Mm-hmm.
Our entire approach, and by the way, the way we are doing it, I had 2 analytics companies before that, or 2 companies before that used analytics, and I saw how hard it is to build my own analytics. We build an analytics, and we have an analytics platform to put in other people products and applications, other people productivity tools. So the analytics and insights are in the tools people use every day and not a separate thing. So for example, when Northern Trust wanted to build a new cash management application, they took our analytics, AI and BI, into their cash management application. And guess what happened? They found out in real time, not the day after, in real time, that they have excess cash in the bank they can use and create a new business out of it, make revenue. They can give better loans to people because they have this excess cash. Their compliance people can see in real time what's happening in the tool we already use versus separate product after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an example. Another example would be NASDAQ.com has a new product. It's called NASDAQ Investor Relation Insights, IR Insights.
Okay.
Google it.
Yep.
And in that product, they bring you insights about how people trade your public company stock. And that technology is Sisense technology injected into the NASDAQ.com application. So it's not a separate place It's not a separate tool to learn. It's not some other thing. It's part of the overall Nasdaq services that provide all public companies. And we see higher adoption as a result.
Well, I think that we may have spoken about my next question. I think it's a really interesting idea. It's the idea of the democratization of data. So more and more people have access to it. And I think your answer is, well, we need to build the analytics applications into the apps that people are using, so they don't have to go to a separate platform. My question really is, what's the biggest infrastructure obstacles to data democratization? I'm sensing your answer is build the applications into the ports that the people use.
That's number one.
Is that really the future of data analytics as you see it, or,
Well, I think there's
what do you see for the future of analytics?
3 or 4 things, but that's number one. Because if it's
Yes.
not there, you won't use it. Again, think about you going to the trafficonline.com before I drove last night. No one will do that.
Right.
That's why 80% don't do it. Number one.
Sure.
Number two, not only put it in the tools people use, get insights sent to me with alerts that tell you what's happening versus have me go to the tool, even if I'm not logging in at night or what have you. So that is using AI, anomaly detection, alerting, to find the nuggets of information and give me the answer before I ask the question. So the first point is put it where I am so I don't go to a separate place. Second is give me the answer before I ask the question. So we have a lot of anomaly detection technologies, AI tools, alerting tools to send you answers without you asking questions. That's a big deal.
Okay. Using historical data of what you've been interested in?
Historical or current data. For example, if you see now a major traffic on your website and suddenly from one state in the US, the traffic drops in real time without the history, you can tell something is weird. We should send you a notification. So that's number two. Number three is make the tools more human and less technological. So use natural language, for example. People can write in English,
Right.
or natural language explanations. What's that? If I find an issue, people typically show you some very complex graph with a lot of dimensions and colors. Many people cannot digest that information, but we now translate it to English and explain. What you see now is a major decline in one state in the US because we believe it's because you have a server malfunction, and that's going to drop revenue by 40% unless you do something. In English, plain text, logical. And lastly, you talk about infrastructure, get more data accessible. If you spoke about the gold mine or the diamond mine before, a lot of gold and diamond is hidden in the mine in inaccessible shafts you cannot reach.
Sure.
Move data to the cloud, make the databases open within firms. A lot of data is still locked down because it's not accessible or difficult to access, sometimes for good reasons, sometimes for bad reasons. Security is a good reason, but the more you open it up, the more you democratize the insights, because analytics without data is nothing.
Right.
We cannot do anything.
Yes.
So you have to democratize analytics and data access, and together you get this magical outcome.
Yeah, and I think we're headed towards that world, which I think is quite fascinating. Amir, I think you said it. It's really interesting stuff. I learned a ton. Thank you so much for sharing your insight today. Come back later and talk with us again sometime.
Happily. Thanks for having me.